The emergency alarm echoed through the Galactic Council station at 3 in the morning. Ambassador Velthar woke up instantly, his 6 legs scrambling to reach his communication device. His antennae twitched with worry as he read the message on the screen. Another attack. The 5th one this week. The planet Threshold 9 was supposed to be a peaceful agricultural colony. Different species from across the galaxy lived there together, farming the rich soil and trading their crops. Humans, Krivax, Delphini, and Lumini all worked side by side. At least they did until 2 weeks ago when the attack started. Velthar pulled up the reports on his screen. The first attack happened on a Krivax farm. The farmer had lost 30 livestock animals in one night. The second attack was at a Delphini water farm. The third, fourth, and now 5th attacks followed the same pattern. Something was hunting at night and nobody knew what it was. Captain Rin arrived at the council station an hour later. The Delphini officer was known for staying calm in dangerous situations, but even he looked nervous. His blue skin was darker than usual, which meant he was stressed. "We need to evacuate the farming district," Rin said, placing his datapad on the table. "This creature is too dangerous. We don't know what it is or where it came from." Velthar looked at the photos from the attack sites. The damage was severe. Fences were torn down. Storage buildings had holes in their walls. Strange marks covered the ground, but they didn't look like any footprints he had ever seen. "What do the witnesses say?" Velthar asked. Rin pulled up witness statements on the main screen. They all say the same thing. The creature is huge, maybe 3 or 4 meters tall. It has multiple eyes that glow in the dark. They describe sharp claws or talons. Some say it has too many legs. Others say it moves like smoke, silent and fast. A Lumini scientist named Kessa entered the room. Her crystalline body reflected the lights as she moved. "I've analyzed the chemical samples from the attack sites," she said. "The creature leaves behind a substance we've never seen before. It's acidic, but also organic. Whatever this thing is, it's not from Threshold 9. Velthar felt his blood run cold. An unknown predator loose on a colony world was every administrator's nightmare. "Have any humans reported seeing it?" Rin shook his head. "That's the strange part. The human farms haven't been attacked. Not even once. When we asked the human farmers if they've seen anything unusual, they all said no. Maybe the creature doesn't like human livestock," Kessa suggested. "Different biology, different smell." "Or maybe the humans know something they're not telling us," Velthar said quietly. He had worked with humans for 10 years. They were good people, but sometimes they saw things differently than other species. Very differently. The next morning, Velthar called an emergency meeting with the colony's leadership. Taeyang, the human colony administrator, sat across from him. The young man looked tired but not worried. That bothered Velthar more than he wanted to admit. "Taeyang, we need to talk about the attacks," Velthar began. 5 farms have been hit. The alien residents are terrified. Some want to leave the colony." Taeyang nodded slowly. "I understand their fear, but I don't think evacuation is necessary." "You don't think it's necessary?" Captain Rin leaned forward, his voice rising. "There's a monster killing livestock and destroying property. What if it decides to attack people next? Has anyone been hurt?" Taeyang asked calmly. "Well, no, but..." "And the livestock that were killed, were they eaten?" Captain Rin paused. He looked at his notes. "No, actually. The bodies were left behind. The creature seems to kill them and then leave." Taeyang exchanged a look with another human in the room, a woman named Nari who worked as a xenobiologist at the research station. She was shaking her head slightly as if trying to tell him something. "What aren't you telling us?" Velthar demanded. "Nothing," Taeyang said quickly. "I just think we should investigate more before we panic. The humans on Threshold 9 aren't scared. Doesn't that tell you something?" "It tells me that humans have a very different definition of dangerous than the rest of us," Velthar muttered. After the meeting, Velthar found Nari in the hallway. "You know something," he said. "It wasn't a question." Nari bit her lip. "I can't say anything. It's not my secret to tell. People are scared, Nari. If you know what's causing this, you need to speak up." "Nobody is in danger," Nari said firmly. "I promise you that. Just give it a few more days. Let the investigation play out." But Velthar couldn't wait a few more days. That night, he gathered a team and headed to the site of the latest attack. Dr. Moss Rin, a Lumini expert on dangerous creatures, came along with them. So did Captain Rin and 5 security officers. The attack had happened at a Krivax grain farm. The storage silos had claw marks running down their sides. The metal was scratched and dented. Some of the grain had spilled onto the ground. "Look at this," Dr. Mosserin said, pointing his scanner at the claw marks. "The creature has incredible strength. These silos are made of reinforced steel." Velthar examined the marks closely. There were 4 parallel lines in each set of scratches. "How many claws does this thing have?" "At least 12 based on the different marks we've found," Dr. Mosserin said. "Maybe more." A security officer called out from near the tree line. "Sir, I found something." The team gathered around. On the ground were marks in the dirt, but they didn't look like footprints. They looked more like something had been dragged. "It moves without making tracks," Captain Rin whispered. "How is that possible?" "I don't know," Velthar admitted. "But we're going to find out." They set up motion sensors and cameras around the area. If the creature came back, they would be ready. Dr. Mosserin predicted it would return within 3 nights. Creatures like this usually had hunting patterns, he was right. 2 nights later, the sensors went off. Velthar watched the video feed from the safety of the command center. His hearts were pounding as he saw movement in the darkness. Then the feed went dark. "What happened?" Captain Rin shouted. "The cameras just died," the technician said, frantically typing on her keyboard. "All of them at once." They restored the feed 5 minutes later, but the creature was gone. All that remained were more claw marks and that same strange chemical residue. "It knows we're watching," Dr. Mosserin said quietly. "This creature is intelligent." Velthar made a decision. "Tomorrow we're going to the human farms. All of them. We're going to find out what they know and why their farms aren't being attacked." As he said this, he pulled up a map of the colony. The human farms formed a ring around the alien farms, and right in the center of the human settlements was a farm owned by a man named Hyun. "We'll start there," Velthar said, pointing at Hyun's farm on the map. He had no idea what they were about to discover. The morning sun was just rising when Velthar and his team arrived at the human farming district. Captain Rin drove the transport vehicle while Dr. Mosserin reviewed his notes in the back seat. They had 3 security officers with them, all armed with tranquilizer weapons strong enough to knock out a charging Krivax bull. Their first stop was the farm belonging to a human mechanic named Jiho. The farm sat on the edge of the human district, right next to an alien settlement that had been attacked 3 days ago. Jiho was working on a broken tractor when they arrived. He was a stocky man with grease on his hands and a friendly smile. "Morning," he called out. "You're here about the creature, right?" "Yes," Velthar said. "Your neighbor's farm was attacked. Did you see or hear anything unusual that night?" Jiho shrugged. "Heard some noise around midnight. Sounded like the pest control was running." "Pest control?" Captain Rin asked. "Yeah, you know. The usual farm sounds. Nothing to worry about." Dr. Mosserin stepped forward. "Mr. Jiho, we have evidence of a large predator in this area. A very dangerous one. You should be concerned," Jiho laughed. "Predator? Now, there are no predators on Threshold 9. Just herbivores and some small animals. You must be looking at the data wrong." The team exchanged confused looks. They had photos, chemical samples, and eyewitness accounts. How could Jiho think they were wrong? "Can we look around your property?" Velthar asked. "Sure, help yourself," Jiho said, returning to his tractor. "Just don't spook the workers." "Workers?" Captain Rin asked. But Jiho was already back under the tractor and didn't answer. They searched Jiho's farm for an hour. They found normal farm equipment, healthy crops, and a large barn. When Velthar tried to open the barn door, Jiho called out, "I wouldn't go in there right now. They're sleeping and they get grumpy when you wake them." "Who gets grumpy?" Velthar asked. "The workers," Jiho said again, as if this explained everything. Frustrated, the team moved on to the next farm. This one belonged to Hyun, the farmer Velthar had marked on his map. Hyun's farm was larger than Jiho's, with fields of golden grain stretching in every direction. A simple house sat in the middle with a huge barn behind it. Hyun was carrying water buckets when they arrived. He was younger than Velthar expected, maybe in his early 30s. He wore old farming clothes and had dirt on his boots. "Good morning," Hyun said politely. "Can I help you?" Velthar explained the situation. He showed Hyun the photos of the damage, the claw marks, and the witness descriptions. Hyun listened carefully, his face neutral. "And you haven't seen anything like this?" Velthar asked. "No," Hyun said, but his eyes moved slightly toward the barn when he said it. Captain Rin noticed too. "What's in your barn?" "Farm equipment, storage, the usual things." "Can we look inside?" Hyun hesitated. It's being cleaned right now. Maybe come back later? Dr. Mossrin's crystals flickered with suspicion. Mr. Hyun, if you're hiding something, you could be putting the entire colony in danger. I'm not hiding anything dangerous, Hyun said firmly. I promise you that. Then let us see, Velthar insisted. Before Hyun could answer, a woman ran up to them. It was Nari, the xenobiologist from the research station. She was also Hyun's sister. Don't, Nari said to her brother, breathing hard from running. Don't show them yet. They're not ready. Not ready for what? Captain Rin demanded. Look, Nari said, turning to the group. I know you're all scared. I know the attacks look bad. But nobody has been hurt. The damage is minimal. Just give us a few more days to— No more days, Velthar interrupted. We need answers now. A loud sound came from inside the barn. It was deep and rumbling like thunder rolling across the ground. The security officers raised their weapons. Dr. Mossrin took several steps back. What was that? Captain Rin whispered. That's just Bora, Hyun said with a sigh. She's hungry. Who is Bora? Velthar asked, though he had a terrible feeling he already knew the answer. Hyun and Nari looked at each other. Some silent communication passed between them. Finally, Hyun nodded. Fine, he said. But promise me you won't hurt her. She's harmless. Harmless? Dr. Mossrin said. Nothing that makes a sound like that is harmless. They followed Hyun to the barn. He opened the door slowly, talking in a soft voice. Hey girl, it's okay. We have visitors. Be nice, the inside of the barn was dark. Velthar's eyes took a moment to adjust. When they did, he saw something that made his blood freeze. 8 glowing eyes stared at them from the darkness. They were arranged in a circle, floating about 3 meters off the ground. Below the eyes, Velthar could make out a massive shape. It was covered in dark plates that looked like armor. Multiple limbs moved in the shadows. Everyone stay calm, Hyun said quietly. She can sense fear. The creature stepped into the light. It was even bigger than the witnesses had described. Its body was the size of a transport vehicle. 12 legs supported its weight, each ending in curved talons that could easily tear through metal. Its head was enormous, with those 8 glowing eyes and a mouth that Velthar was certain contained rows of sharp teeth. One of the security officers fainted. Another dropped his weapon and ran. Captain Rin made a sound that no Delphini should ever make. Velthar, Dr. Mossrin whispered, his voice shaking. That's an extinction-level creature. We need to evacuate the planet now. But Hyun was walking toward the monster. He was walking toward it like it was nothing to be afraid of. The creature lowered its massive head down to Hyun's level. He reached up and patted it on what might have been its cheek. Good morning, Bora, Hyun said warmly. Did you sleep well? The creature made a sound like a purr mixed with an earthquake. Its eyes closed halfway as if it was content. This, Hyun said, turning to the shocked group, is my barn pet. Velthar couldn't speak. His mind couldn't process what he was seeing. A human was petting a monster. A nightmare creature was acting like a docile animal. Your barn pet? Captain Rin finally managed to say. That is your barn pet? Well, technically she's a greater harvester, Nari explained. They're common on human agricultural worlds. We use them for pest control and compost processing. That thing is common? Dr. Mossrin's voice went up 3 octaves. Sure, Hyun said. Most human farms have at least one. Jiho has 3. Velthar remembered Jiho talking about his workers in the barn. He felt dizzy. The attacks, Captain Rin said slowly. Was that her? Hyun looked embarrassed. Yeah, probably. She's been sneaking out at night. I thought I fixed the fence, but she's clever. She must have been trying to help the other farms. Help them, Velthar said weakly. Harvesters eat crop pests. Your alien friends had infestations. Bora was just doing her job, cleaning up the vermin. Hyun scratched behind what might have been Bora's ear. She's a very good girl. The creature that had terrorized an entire colony, that had been classified as an extinction-level threat, that had caused 5 different emergency council meetings, made a happy rumbling sound and leaned into Hyun's hand. Velthar sat down on the barn floor. He needed a moment to think. A very long moment. Velthar sat on the barn floor for a full 5 minutes before he could form words. Captain Rin was leaning against the wall, his blue skin now pale with shock. Dr. Mossrin kept running his scanner over Bora, making small distressed sounds every time he looked at the results. Let me understand this correctly, Velthar finally said. The creature that we thought was going to kill us all is your pet. Barn pet, Hyun corrected. There's a difference. House pets live inside. Barn pets live in the barn. That's not the point, Captain Rin shouted, then immediately lowered his voice when Bora's 8 eyes turned to look at him. Sorry, that's not the point, he whispered. Nari stepped forward. Look, I tried to tell you that everyone was overreacting. Harvesters look scary, but they're completely herbivorous. They eat plants and insects. That's it. Insects? Velthar said. The Krivak's livestock that died were not insects. Hyun winced. About that. Bora probably thought they were pests. Some of the Krivak's animals look similar to the parasites that attack crops. She was trying to help. She killed 30 animals trying to help, Captain Rin said flatly. She didn't eat them though, right? Hyun asked. That's because she realized her mistake. Harvesters are actually very smart. She probably felt bad about it. Bora made a low sound and lowered her head. She did look sorry, Velthar thought, though he couldn't believe he was thinking about a monster's feelings. Dr. Mosrin approached cautiously, his scanner still running. Can I ask some questions? For my research? Sure, Hyun said. The acidic substance we found at the attack sites. What is that? Oh, that's just her saliva, Hyun explained. Harvesters produce an enzyme that helps them break down tough plant material. It's not dangerous to people or animals. It just looks scary. The glowing eyes, they can see in complete darkness. They're nocturnal hunters. Well, not hunters. Nocturnal foragers, the silent movement. They have padded feet. Helps them sneak up on pests without scaring them away. Dr. Mosrin looked at his scanner again. According to my readings, this creature should be terrifying every species in the galaxy. The fear response is biological. Universal. Universal to everyone except humans, Nari said. Our species evolved alongside predators much worse than harvesters. We had to get comfortable with scary-looking things to survive. Velthar slowly stood up. He approached Bora carefully, studying her. Up close he could see that her armor plating was actually more like thick scales. Her talons, while sharp, were worn down from digging. Her teeth, when she opened her mouth to yawn, were flat and designed for grinding plants. She really is herbivorous, he said in wonder. Want to feed her? Hyun offered, holding out the bucket he'd been carrying earlier. It was filled with compressed grain cakes that smelled sweet. Absolutely not, Velthar said. But Captain Rin, who had been slowly calming down, stepped forward. I'll do it. Everyone stared at him. What? He said. I need to see this for myself. If humans can do it, so can I. Hyun handed him a grain cake. It was the size of Captain Rin's head. Just hold it out. She'll take it gently. Captain Rin extended his arm, holding the grain cake as far from his body as possible. Bora's massive head lowered toward him. Her mouth opened, showing all those flat grinding teeth. Captain Rin closed his eyes. Bora delicately took the grain cake from his hand and chewed it slowly. She made a happy humming sound. Captain Rin opened his eyes. He looked at his hand. It was covered in plant-based saliva but was completely unharmed. She was gentle, he said in amazement. Told you, Hyun said with a smile. The security officer who had fainted earlier woke up. When he saw everyone standing calmly around Bora, he thought he was having a dream. Is this real? He asked. Very real, Velthar said, and we have a lot of explaining to do. They spent the next 2 hours in Hyun's farmhouse. Nari pulled up information about harvesters on her computer, showing the team everything humans knew about the species. Harvesters almost went extinct on Earth thousands of years ago, Nari explained. Climate change and habitat loss nearly wiped them out. Humans preserved their genetic material and brought them back when we started farming other planets. Why? Dr. Mosrin asked. Why would you bring back something so terrifying? Because they're useful, Nari said. One harvester can protect 50 acres of farmland from pests. They eat locusts, crop-boring beetles, root parasites, everything that damages plants. They also process organic waste into fertilizer. They're perfect for sustainable farming. How many humans on Threshold 9 have these creatures? Velthar asked. Hyun pulled up a registry. Let's see. Jiho has 3. The Kim family has 2. Park household has 1. Oh, and old Mrs. Song has 4, but hers are juveniles. There are 14 of these things on this planet, Captain Rin said. 15, Hyun corrected. Mrs. Song's female is pregnant. Velthar put his head in his hands. How did we not know about this? You never asked, Hyun said simply. They're just barn animals to us. We didn't think to mention them. Just barn animals, Dr. Mosrin repeated quietly. Just barn animals. There was a knock at the door. Taeyang, the colony administrator, entered. He looked at the group sitting around Hyun's kitchen table. "I heard you found out about the harvesters," Taeyang said. "You knew?" Velthar demanded. "Of course I knew. I approved the import permits. It's all in the agricultural registry." Taeyang pulled out his datapad. "See? Right here. 15 greater harvesters registered as livestock and pest control. The registry lists them as livestock," Captain Rin said, "not as nightmare creatures." "Well, they are livestock," Taeyang said, confused. "They're farm animals." Velthar realized the problem. When humans filled out their agricultural forms, they listed harvesters the same way they listed any other farm animal. The alien administrators who processed the forms didn't know what a harvester was. They just assumed it was something like a cow or a sheep. "This is a massive failure of communication," Velthar said. "I did try to tell everyone," Nari pointed out. Nobody would listen. Outside, they heard more rumbling sounds. Velthar looked out the window and saw 3 more harvesters in the distance. They were in Jiho's field, moving through the crops and eating something. "What are they doing?" he asked. "Pest control," Hyun said. "There's been an outbreak of root beetles in this area. The harvesters are cleaning them up before they spread to other farms." "They're helping," Velthar said slowly. "They've been helping this whole time." "Yep," Hyun said. "That's what they do." Captain Rin stood up and looked at Velthar. "We need to tell the colony. If we don't, someone might try to hurt the harvesters. They're just animals doing their job." "Agreed," Velthar said. "But we need to do this carefully. If we just announce that there are 15 nightmare creatures living on the farms, people will panic even more." "We could do a demonstration," Nari suggested. "Show people that harvesters are safe. Let them meet Bora." "Yes," Dr. Mossrin said suddenly. "Yes, that's perfect. If people can see what I saw, if they can feed a harvester like Captain Rin did, they'll understand." Velthar looked at Bora through the window. She was lying in the sun, looking peaceful and content. Her 8 eyes were half closed. She looked almost cute in a monstrous sort of way. "All right," he said. "We'll organize a colony meeting tomorrow." "Hyun, can you bring Bora?" "Sure," Hyun said. "She likes meeting new people. What could possibly go wrong?" Captain Rin muttered. The colony meeting was scheduled for the next evening in the central plaza. By noon, word had spread that there would be a major announcement about the attacks. The plaza filled with hundreds of concerned aliens from every species on Threshold 9. Velthar stood on the stage, looking out at the crowd. Krivak's families huddled together, their antennae twitching nervously. Delphini residents kept their children close. Even the normally calm Luminae seemed agitated, their crystalline bodies flickering with anxious light. "This is going to be a disaster," Captain Rin whispered from beside him. "Have faith," Velthar whispered back. Though he wasn't sure he believed his own words, Taeyang stepped up to the microphone. "Thank you all for coming. I know you're scared. I know the attacks have been frightening. But I promise you by the end of this meeting you'll understand that there's no danger." "No danger?" someone shouted from the crowd. 5 farms have been destroyed." "Not destroyed," Taeyang corrected. "Damaged, yes, but not destroyed. And I can explain why. We've discovered what caused the incidents, and I guarantee you're going to be surprised." Dr. Mossrin stepped forward next. 2 days ago, I classified the unknown creature as an extinction-level threat. I was wrong. Very wrong. What we thought was a predator is actually a domestic farm animal. The crowd erupted in confused chatter. "Domestic? That thing? I know it sounds impossible," Dr. Mossrin continued. "I didn't believe it either. But I've spent the last 24 hours studying these creatures, and I can confirm they're completely safe. In fact, they're beneficial to our colony." Velthar took the microphone. "We'd like to introduce you to one of these creatures. Her name is Bora, and she belongs to a human farmer named Hyun. Before you panic, I want you to know that myself, Captain Rin, and Dr. Mossrin have all interacted with Bora safely." "She's harmless." "Then bring her out!" someone yelled. "Let us see this harmless monster." Velthar nodded to Hyun, who was waiting at the side of the stage. Hyun walked to the center of the plaza with Bora following behind him on a leash. The leash looked absurdly small attached to such a massive creature, like using a thread to control an earthquake. The crowd's reaction was immediate and loud. People screamed, some ran. Parents grabbed their children. One Kryvax fainted just like the security officer had. But Bora didn't react to the chaos. She simply followed Hyun calmly, her 8 eyes scanning the crowd with what looked like curiosity. When Hyun stopped, she sat down beside him like an obedient dog. Her tail, which Velthar hadn't noticed before, curled around her feet. "Everyone, please calm down," Taeyang shouted into the microphone. "Look, she's not attacking anyone. She's just sitting there." Slowly, very slowly, people stopped running. They watched from a safe distance as Hyun patted Bora's side. She made that rumbling purr sound again. "This is a greater harvester," Hyun explained. "She's a herbivore, which means she only eats plants. She can't hurt you. She won't hurt you. Watch." Hyun pulled out a grain cake and held it up. Bora gently took it from his hand and chewed it slowly. The crowd watched in silence. "Now," Hyun said, "would anyone like to try feeding her?" Nobody moved. Nobody even breathed. Captain Rin walked onto the stage. "I'll do it again." He took a grain cake from Hyun's bucket and approached Bora. The Delphini officer had been terrified just yesterday, but now he moved with confidence. He held out the grain cake and Bora took it delicately. The crowd gasped. "You see?" Captain Rin said, turning to face them. "I was scared too. We all were. But Bora is gentle. She's been living on this colony for 2 years and she's never hurt anyone." 2 years? Someone in the crowd said. "She's been here for 2 years?" "Yes," Nari said, joining them on stage. "There are 15 harvesters on Threshold 9, all owned by human farmers. They've been here the whole time, working in the fields at night, eating pests that damage crops. The reason you didn't see them before is because they're nocturnal and stay on the farms." "Then why did they attack our farms?" a Kryvax farmer demanded. "They didn't attack," Nari explained. "Harvesters are protective of agricultural areas. When Bora sensed pest infestations on neighboring farms, she tried to help by eliminating the pests. Unfortunately, she made some mistakes." Hyun looked embarrassed. "Bora thought some of the Kryvax livestock were pests. She's never seen Kryvax animals before. I'm very sorry about that. I've been training her to recognize which animals are livestock and which are actual pests." "What about the damage to our buildings?" another farmer asked. "Harvesters are strong," Nari said. "When Bora was trying to reach the pests inside storage buildings, she accidentally caused damage. Again, she was trying to help. She didn't know the buildings were occupied." A young Luminite child walked forward from the crowd. Her parent tried to stop her, but she pulled away and approached the stage. "Can I touch her?" the child asked in a small voice. Hyun looked at Velthar, who nodded. "Come on up," Hyun said gently. The child climbed onto the stage. She was tiny compared to Bora, barely reaching one of the harvester's legs, but Bora lowered her massive head down to the child's level. Her 8 eyes looked at the small Lumini with what seemed like kindness. The child reached out and touched Bora's snout. The crowd held its breath. Bora made a soft cooing sound. Her eyes closed halfway, content with the gentle touch. The child laughed. "She's warm and soft." That broke the spell. More children came forward, then curious adults. Within minutes, there was a line of people waiting to meet Bora. Hyun supervised carefully, showing each person how to approach and touch her safely. Velthar watched in amazement as his terrified colony transformed into an excited crowd. People who had been demanding evacuation an hour ago were now taking pictures with Bora. Children were climbing on her back while she lay down patiently. Dr. Mossrin stood beside Velthar. "I've never seen anything like this," the scientist said. "A creature that triggers every fear response in the galaxy, and yet humans made it into a pet." "Not just a pet," Nari corrected, overhearing them. "A working animal. A partner. That's the human way. We don't see monsters. We see potential friends." A Kryvax farmer who had lost livestock in the attacks approached Hyun. "I'm sorry I called for your animal to be killed," he said. "I didn't understand." "It's okay," Hyun said. "I'm sorry Bora scared you and hurt your animals. She didn't mean to." "Can I ask you something?" the farmer said. "You said harvesters eat pests. I have a problem with tunnel beetles on my farm. They're destroying my root crops. Could Bora help?" Hyun smiled. "That's exactly what she's good at." "When would you like her to visit?" By the end of the evening, 5 different farmers had requested Bora's help with pest problems. 3 more asked where they could get their own harvesters. Jiho, who brought his 3 harvesters to the meeting, was surrounded by curious farmers asking questions. Velthar found himself sitting on the stage, watching the scene. Captain Rin sat beside him. "We almost evacuated the colony," Rin said. We almost called in the military. All because of a farm animal. A farm animal that looks like a nightmare, Velthar added. Yes, but still just a farm animal. Captain Rin shook his head. Humans are strange, Ambassador. Very strange. Strange but effective, Velthar said, watching as Bora carefully accepted treats from a dozen different species. They turned a creature that should terrify us into something useful. Something helpful. Taeyang joined them. So, do we still need to evacuate? No, Velthar said. But we do need new protocols. We need to make sure every species understands what the humans are bringing to our colonies. No more surprises. Agreed, Taeyang said. I'll start working on that tomorrow. Complete documentation of all human agricultural animals with pictures and detailed descriptions. Good, Velthar said, because if there are any more surprises like this, my hearts might not survive it. Taeyang grinned. About that, Hyun mentioned he has a house dog. Velthar closed his eyes. Please tell me it's a normal dog. A small, cute, normal dog. I haven't seen it yet, Taeyang admitted. But Hyun says it's very friendly. Why don't I feel reassured? Velthar muttered. 3 weeks after the Plaza meeting, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. Representatives from 40 different species gathered in the main chamber. Velthar stood at the podium, preparing to give his report on what was now being called the Threshold 9 incident. Honored council members, Velthar began. I stand before you today to discuss a matter of extreme importance regarding human agricultural practices. What we discovered on Threshold 9 has revealed a significant gap in our understanding of human culture and biology. He pulled up images of Bora on the main screen. Several council members gasped. One representative from the Kryvax homeworld had to sit down. This creature is called a greater harvester. Humans classify it as livestock, specifically as a barn pet. Velthar let that sink in. To humans, this is normal. They see nothing unusual about keeping such creatures on their farms. A Delphini counselor raised his hand. Ambassador, are you telling us that humans domesticated apex predators? Not predators, actually. Harvesters are herbivores. But yes, humans domesticated them. And that's not all. Velthar pulled up more images. Through our investigation, we discovered that humans keep many species that other civilizations would consider dangerous or terrifying. They call them pets, livestock, or working animals. The screen showed pictures of earth animals. Dogs with teeth like knives, cats that humans kept in their homes despite their hunting instincts, horses that could easily kill a person with one kick, birds of prey that humans trained to sit on their arms. Humans evolved on a planet filled with predators, Velthar explained. Their survival strategy was not to run or hide, but to befriend, domesticate, or coexist with dangerous species. This has given them a very different understanding of what counts as safe or dangerous. What are you proposing? The council leader asked. New protocols, Velthar said. I've prepared a document called the Threshold 9 Accord. It requires humans to register all their animals when joining mixed species colonies. Not just the animals they consider unusual, but all of them. Because what humans think is normal might terrify everyone else. The council voted unanimously to approve the accord. They also agreed to create a database of human domesticated species, complete with pictures, descriptions, and safety information. Back on Threshold 9, life had changed significantly. The harvesters were now local celebrities. Farmers from all species requested their help with pest problems. Children took field trips to see them. Someone even started selling small harvester plushies in the market. Bora became something of a mascot for the colony. Hyun brought her to the monthly farmers market, where she patiently let people take pictures with her. She wore a little vest that said Pest Control Professional in 3 languages. Jiho's 3 harvesters started a mobile pest control service. Farmers could book appointments and the harvesters would visit their fields at night to eliminate infestations. Business was booming. I told you they were useful, Jiho said to Velthar during one of the market days. Humans have been doing this for thousands of years. We just make friends with everything. I'm beginning to understand that, Velthar admitted. He was sitting at a cafe table drinking tea, while Bora lay in the sun nearby. He had gotten surprisingly comfortable around her. Though I still don't understand how you look at something with 12 legs and 8 glowing eyes and think, friend. Practice, Jiho said with a grin. Lots of practice. Nari published a research paper about the incident. It was titled, Fear Responses and Cultural Context, a Study of the Harvester Phenomenon. The paper became required reading in xenobiology programs across the galaxy. It explained how different species had different fear triggers based on their evolutionary history. Dr. Mosserin, embarrassed by his initial classification of harvesters as extinction-level threats, wrote a follow-up paper apologizing and explaining his mistake. It was well received, and other scientists praised him for his honesty. Captain Rin started a program to help other species become comfortable around harvesters. He called it Understanding Earth Animals. The first class had 50 students. By the third week, there was a waiting list. The key is to remember that humans are weird, Rin explained to his students. They befriended wolves and called them dogs. They brought cats into their homes even though cats are tiny predators. They ride on animals that could kill them with one kick. This is normal to them. So we should trust human judgment about animals? A student asked. Yes and no, Rin said. Trust that if a human says an animal is safe, it probably won't kill you. But also remember that human and safe don't always mean the same thing to humans as they do to us. 1 month after the incident, Velthar received a message from the Galactic Council. They wanted him to conduct surveys of all human colonies to document their agricultural animals. It was a massive project that would take years. Congratulations, Taeyang said when Velthar told him about the assignment. You're now the galaxy's leading expert on human weirdness. I didn't want to be an expert on human weirdness, Velthar grumbled. I wanted a quiet administrative job. Too late, Taeyang said cheerfully. You're famous now. The ambassador who discovered the harvesters. It has a nice ring to it. Velthar had to admit the experience had been educational. He understood humans better now. They weren't trying to be scary or strange. They just saw the world differently. Where other species saw monsters, humans saw friends waiting to be made. Still, he was nervous about one thing. Every time he visited Hyun's farm, he noticed movement in the farmhouse. Something large. Something that Hyun never let him see clearly. The house dog, Velthar said to Hyun one day. You mentioned you have a house dog. Oh yeah, Hyun said casually. His name is Dubu. Why? Can I meet him? Hyun hesitated. Are you sure? He's pretty enthusiastic about meeting new people. After Bora, how bad could a dog be? Velthar said. Hyun and Nari exchanged a look. Okay, Hyun said slowly. But remember, he's just a pet. A normal house pet by human standards. They walked to the farmhouse. Velthar could hear heavy breathing from inside. Something was definitely large. Dubu is a Tibetan Mastiff, Nari explained. They're an old earth breed. Very gentle, very loyal. How big? Velthar asked. About 90 kilograms, Hyun said. He's on the larger side. Velthar relaxed. 90 kilograms wasn't too bad. He had dealt with Bora after all. How scary could a dog be? Hyun opened the door. Something enormous and furry bounded out. It had a massive head, teeth that looked like they could bite through steel, and a bark that shook the windows. It ran straight at Velthar. Velthar's life flashed before his eyes. The creature knocked him down and started licking his face with a tongue the size of a dinner plate. Its tail wagged so hard it created a small wind. It was making happy whining sounds. Dubu down, Hyun commanded. The giant dog sat but kept trying to lick Velthar from his sitting position. Velthar lay on the ground covered in dog saliva, staring up at the sky. You call this a house pet? Well, yeah, Hyun said, helping him up. He sleeps on the couch and everything. Your couch must be enormous, Velthar muttered, trying to wipe the saliva off his face. We got a bigger one when we adopted him, Nari said. Velthar looked at Dubu, who was now rolling on his back and requesting belly rubs. The dog's happiness was infectious. Despite himself, Velthar smiled and scratched the enormous animal's stomach. Humans are insane, Velthar said. Completely insane. We prefer adaptable, Hyun said with a grin. That evening, Velthar sent his preliminary report to the Galactic Council. He included pictures of both Bora and Dubu. He explained everything they had learned about human agricultural practices and pet ownership. At the end of the report, he added a personal note. It is the recommendation of this ambassador that we approach all human colonies with open minds, proper documentation requirements, and perhaps some sedatives for the investigating officers. Humans do not see danger the way we do. They see opportunity for friendship. While this can be shocking to experience, it is not malicious. They are simply being human. Further investigation is required before approving additional human settlements. We must ensure proper protocols are in place to prevent future incidents. However, I must note that despite the initial shock, the presence of harvesters has greatly benefited our colony's agriculture. Human methods, while unconventional, are effective. Addendum. I have met the human's house dog. I do not recommend this experience for the faint of heart. However, the dog did not try to kill me, so I consider the meeting a success. End report. Velthar sent the document and closed his computer. Tomorrow he would start documenting the other human farms on Threshold 9. Mrs. Song had invited him to meet her 4 juvenile harvesters. He was almost looking forward to it, almost.